Hello everyone, this is John, your host on the Prepared Mind channel. Thank you for coming to visit us here at Patreon and for being part of the program. It's very, very late or very early depending on your perspective. It's before the Monday day kicks off. My question to you is, how are you feeling about things? You know, self-assessment is one of those things that I do quite often. Right now, and it could just be the time of day, it feels exceptionally quiet. Now that's amazing considering where we're at right now in this world. Right? The powers that be that are not happy about what Trump is doing, right? They're going to want to stop him. They need to stop him. But it's been quiet over the weekend. Now, I did watch some political shows, and they did quite a bit of arguing on both sides. But we are on the cusp, right? We're at the summit. And the problem is right in front of us. There are lots of problems right in front of us. And it's like everyone has risen up to the top and they're teetering, peaking. And then it's a run back down the hill. That run down the hill can mean a lot of things for us. In terms of politics with Trump, it could mean a run downhill as fast as they can, just taking names and kicking ass, right? Cleaning house. That could be the run downhill. Or something very bad could happen. By something bad, I mean an assassination attempt. You know, I don't know which way it's going to break. I don't. I just know that it can get squirrely. Things can go bad really fast. We're just teetering at the top right now, waiting for some more action. And we've seen great amounts of action, a huge push by the forces of freedom pushing one way. What will it take to push back? Right now, I remember going to bed on September 10th. I went to bed. It was no big deal. And when I woke up the next day, the world was changed. September 11th, the destruction of the Twin Towers, the destruction of Building 7, the attack at the Pentagon, it changed in a heartbeat. No one knew it, but that was going to happen. Right now, we have a lot of things that are pressing the world in one direction. And what does it take to make things happen? Now, with the stock market, same story. We're teetering at the top. We've come down a little, stopped, going up, come down, stopped. We're sitting right at the top. All indicators are that it's going to fall. It has to fall. It has to come down. Right? It just takes one push, one mistake by somebody, and down it will come. The question is, are you ready for that? Are you ready for what happens if we get a false flag? Are you ready for what happens if we have a stock market crash? If we have a cyber attack? Are you really ready? Because now everything is poised, and right now it's incredibly calm, it's incredibly quiet. Last week was loud. I mean, it was loud. And this weekend I actually had a chance to get some rest, to get some sleep, to recover a bit, and actually think about where it is we're at. And where it is things are going to go. You see, that's the one nice thing about the weekends is everyone seems to take them off, including the politicians. And I know that's not true. They really don't ever take a break, but we just don't hear about what they're doing. Right? We've got the Olympics started over there in the Korean Peninsula. One little event can set off a domino fall of epic proportions. I feel very relaxed right now. But what needs to happen in order to change that? It just takes one little event. Now, we're preppers, you and I. And we think in terms of what could happen. Am I ready? Do I have food, shelter, water, clothing, medicine, and means of self-defense? Do I have all that in a plan? The rest of the world, just over a week ago, they got caught off guard completely. Stock market started to crash. The rest of the world wasn't ready, right, for the FISA memo. They're shocked, shell-shocked by it. What do you mean corruption? They had no idea because they're asleep for the most part. They really are asleep. With the exception of hardline political people, with the exception of preppers, no one's really awake. I was sitting in my office the other day, had someone walk in, someone who is in, I'm going to call it a executive financial position, didn't know the Federal Reserve is a private bank. People are just asleep at the wheel. They really are. They're asleep at the wheel. So when something bad happens, they get shocked. I did this weekend go through a bunch of news articles having to do with how people are treating each other. They're, and they don't treat each other well. They kill each other. They stab each other, right? Husbands and wives, children, neighbors. They do all manner of incredible acts of violence against each other, seemingly for no real issue. And that's what I'm pointing to is right now, everything's calm. There's no stock market crash for the average Joe. There isn't. There's no war going on for the average Joe. There isn't, right? There's no problem in their world. And these horrifying crimes occur. Now, I know it's a tiny, tiny percentage of the population. But there's nothing going on and they get pushed over the edge and they do terrible things. When shit hits the fan, it's going to affect everyone, literally, in a way that can't be described by them because they're not aware. They're not aware of the threats that are out there. They're excited about ridiculous, mundane things, but they're not aware of the reality that is about to slap them in the face. This week, I predict another huge hammer is going to drop in the FBI investigation case. I won't be surprised at all. There's a couple things I'm guessing are going to happen, and I'm going to keep them to myself. Right? I think Sessions may get fired or resign. Who knows? Who really knows for sure? Because every time I think I've got it figured out, they surprise me in D.C. by showing me it's worse than I thought. And the people that are supporting what's going on there, like from the dark state side, those people in the deep dark state, they surprise me with how low they're willing to go. They double down, they're tripling down on their fight, which tells me their desperation level is enormous. Enormous. Instead of admitting fault, right? Instead of coming clean, they are doubling down and then doubling again. What does that mean? That means the penalty for the loss is greater than any of us can imagine. Right? It's been predicted, right? Cliff High loves to do his predictive analysis stuff, but it's being predicted. It's being slowly leaked that what's coming is going to it's going to confuse the world. I'm going to use the word confuse. The reason I use that word is they're not aware. And this information is going to come at them like a bucket of ice water in the face. And they're going to realize what kind of world they live in. Right? They've been living in fantasy land probably their whole lives, but certainly the last few years. What happens? Stock market came down, 8% last week? What happens if it comes down another 8? How about another 20? Will that wake up the average American? Probably not. They'll probably show some concern, and as long as they don't lose their job right off the bat, they won't care. If some high-level criminal activity is exposed this week, they really won't care because it's not affecting them on a personal level. And I'm talking about the average Joe. Things like this are not affecting them. What is going to affect them is if they can't get food, if their electricity is interrupted, if a major terror attack occurs, that will wake them up. Right? That's going to do it. If the behavior of the average lunatic out there, causes them to behave in very inconsistent manners, what can you and I expect as preppers for people to do? One of the early predictions I have is that when shit hits the fan and the world appears to not perform to people's expectations, I'm expecting there to be a lot of revenge and retribution. If people think they can get away with stuff, if people think there's no accountability, I'm expecting people to get out of hand. People are the big X factor when shit hits the fan. I could see the market crashing, absolutely. And as long as people have their jobs, they'll behave well. But the moment they lose their jobs and realize there isn't another job to be had, they're going to go off their rockers. People are going to go crazy if there's a terror attack in this country. If the power goes out, I don't expect people to behave well. This week, right now, it's silent. It's quiet. It's like I can cut the tension, with my hand. I can feel it. It's out there. The air is pregnant with anticipation for things to happen. But the average Joe has no idea. So my question to you as a prepper is, are you on edge? Or are you satisfied you've got a good bead on things? I'm a little of both. But for you, what are you going to do as you approach this week? Now, when things get more heightened or tense, I tend to tell my sons, hey, be aware of everything. Something bad happens, go to plan A. And they know what plan A is. But I just let them know that, hey, things are crazy out there. Something happens, plan A. Do you have a plan A and a plan B? I would hope that you do. This week, right now, not a problem. This week, I'm expecting some big things to happen. The stock market's going to open in just a few hours. I'm expecting big things. Are you? And do you just not expect anything at all and you're just cruising? You've got your food, your water, shelter, clothing, medicine. You've got your self-defense and you don't care. You're just going to sit back and wait for it all to come. Now, what's better to do? Think about it all or just wait for it to happen? I guess that's perspective or personality type. There's nothing to take action on, so I might as well just relax and chill. But I do have a plan for when it does happen. One of the things I also want to talk about is communication. There's been a couple communication snafus lately. And we do know that they can shut the phone systems down nearly instantly. Kill cell phone networks. It's happened in regional areas in the last few weeks. If there's a major event that occurs, I'm anticipating that they will bring down the communication network. They've done it in the past. They'll do it again. They, of course, control communications. Let's take Hawaii, for example. They wanted people to behave in a certain way. They hit the warning incoming ballistic missile button. People panicked. It woke them up. They went from La La Land, paradise Hawaii. They went into we're all going to die mode because there's really nothing they could do because they weren't prepared. Imagine Los Angeles receiving right? A nuclear threat, nuclear missile incoming text. Who sends that? Could that be simulated through a cyber attack? What if that was coupled with the grid going down, the lights going out? Would people think, right, that there was an EMP or something? How would they behave and respond? See, I see that event coming. QAnon has talked about a major false flag event coming. We don't really know where. I haven't seen any specifics because we never get to. But we do know that there's tension that's built. There was tension building prior to the Oklahoma City bombing. That tension was building over what was known as the Patriot movement, the militia movement. There was tension building for accountability before 9/11. Right? The tension builds and then something happens. We need to be prepared for it. And I think conserving our energy is also important. Like I said, I'm completely calm right now. But I can feel the tension. And I know in just a few hours, it's all going to start. Monday morning, they're going to wake up in the White House. They're going to go to the war room and they're going to start on what comes next. That's huge. We're talking about Hillary Clinton being brought down, Barack Obama, Eric Holder rather, ex-Attorney General. We're talking about the entire system. They're going to bring down the dirt. Right. In just a few hours, everyone's going to wake up and they're going to go and start trading on Wall Street. Are they going to get a little bit more of a dead cat bounce, or are we going to get a crash? Right. That doesn't affect everybody, but it's stuff that's happening. It's something that's happening. The tension is there. And if there is a major collapse, and it's going to happen, it's going to continue to happen. Right? As I talked about before, this takes several weeks to get to. But we can have some big moves in the meantime, and some big recoveries, and then some more big moves. Who knows? What I do know is there's a lot of tension. And even though everyone's playing nice, there is a lot of tension in North Korea. And there's a lot more tension in the Syria war zone. And it is a war zone. Planes and helicopters are being shot down. People are dying, screaming. There's artillery shells raining down. It is a war over there. It's just not in our living rooms. It's not right in front of us. It's being kept from us, in fact, here in the United States. But that could erupt into a full-scale war if the wrong plane is shot down. Right? Tension is very high over there. So, thankfully, I'm a prepper. Thankfully, I've been prepared since before Y2K. And certainly since the '08 crash, I've taken it right to the limit to make sure I'm maximized. If you need help with your preps, go to the preparedmind.club, go to one of the forums, and look around and look and see. Ask questions and you'll get some help. I don't know where everyone's at on here. I assume, right, preppers on the channel here are from across the spectrum. Fully prepared, partially prepared, just getting started. Right? So we need to prioritize and be ready. I think in the next 6 weeks, we're going to see some major changes. Starting this week, we're going to see the action taken that gets us there. Right? Who knows? I just know that something big is coming down. I've gotten some interesting reports about UN troops being on our soil. And I've got some interesting reports that are inconclusive as of yet. But once they're corroborated, then I can share those with you as well. But for the time being, understand, right, our reality is very fragile. Right? But as a prepper, at least you're aware of the things that are going to happen to a degree. The potential for things to happen in different arenas. And you can see the negative consequences. You see, no one's delivered 100 million tons of gold to the U.S. and then told everyone in the U.S., you're going to get it. We're going to divide it amongst you all. And so the whole United States population says, good things are going to happen, and it's coming. What we're talking about here is all the things that are happening that can bring the system down. And we need to be prepared. Chance favors the prepared mind. You know, and God help those who are not. Right? Are they going to resort to stupidity? The answer is yes. Right? Your team wins the Super Bowl, so you riot. You know, I mean, that's happened my whole life. The winning team, whether it's the World Series or the Super Bowl, people are fanatically stupid. Imagine how fanatically stupid they're going to be if we have an SHTF event anywhere. Get ready for this week. It's going to be a doozy. Thank you guys very much for coming here to Patreon, and I'll talk to you again soon. Right? Stay frosty. Godspeed to y'all. Remember to check out the club every couple of days. We're always adding new items and features. Along with the shop section, you can read the blog, visit the forum, and hang out at the live chat. It's a great place to be when you're a prepper.